Hello and welcome to the second round of the 2014 PowerMaxed Mini Challenge. This weekend coming from Brands Hatch, which also happens to be the Mini Festival. After a particularly soggy qualifier, conditions remained tricky for the first race, which saw the return of JCW driver Chris Smith. He was in pole position for what turned out to be a really exciting race.
Well, 4 races this weekend in the PowerMaxed Mini Challenge, and this is how they line up. The first of them, with in pole position Chris Smith. Alongside him on the front row is Chris Knox. Then row 2, the very rapid Luke Cordle and Chris Russell. Patrick Mortimer back in 11th place ahead of Steve Cocker. Alan Taylor completes the JCW runners, and it's Shane Stoney who is the first of the Cooper class cars ahead of Matt Hammond. Grace Williams well up in 21st place just ahead of Adrian Norman. And near enough capacity grid here, the Mini Festival at Brands Hatch, as we get ready for the off. First time this weekend in car with Chris Smith. Away we go. Lovely, smooth, controlled start that from Smith. He may be swamped as the field sprint towards Paddock Hill Bend for the first time in car with Lawrence Davies. Around in front of him goes Kevin O'Connor. And O'Connor exits stage left as it's very slippery into Druids. Maybe a little bit of precipitation as sliding go the Chris's. Smith and Knox both sideways. Promotes Luke Cordle to lead. Chris Russell was in behind him, but he slithers wide at Graham Hill Bend. Also off is Hamish Brandon. Brandon almost finding the barriers. So we go back in car with Chris Smith. As further back in the Cooper class, around goes Grace Williams, and she's been clobbered by somebody. So Josh Gollin involved. He tags Gideon Cresswell, who should recover. Quite the first lap it's been, as sprinting through to consign to history books. It's side by side for the lead. Was the dead heat between Luke Cordle and Chris Knox. We're in car with Cordle. There's Knox to the outside, and he assumes the advantage. Immediately moves to the right to cover the line into Druids. Luke Cordle looks to the outside as Chris Smith and Lawrence Davey pretty much share third position. Down out of Druids they come once more into the left-hander at Graham Hill Bend. And Chris Knox trying to sprint clear as one of the stars doing to park. Simon Quinn also looks to join in the battle for the lead. Meanwhile, at the head of the Cooper class, it is Matt Hammond who leads the way from the red car of Shane Stoney, as Ricky Page takes third at Druids. Back in car with Pete Diamond, and around he goes, and he's going to end up in the gravel trap there. Slithers to a halt. His dismay evident to see as Shane Stoney doesn't downshift into clearways. I wonder if he's got a little bit of a gearbox issue here, because as we accelerate onto the Bramham straight now, he's in the slipstream behind Matt Hammond. Only now, quite late, does he make the shift. So I just wonder whether he's lost one or two of the lower gears. The Cooper class cars swarming through. We go back in car with Simon Quinn. You can see the train for the lead in front, and it's a train which Simon Quinn departs. Around he goes at Graham Hill Bend, all arms and elbows, and perpendicular to the oncoming traffic. He looks to recover and does very quickly. Well, as ever in the PowerMaxed Mini Challenge, it's 2 races in one, and this is the Cooper class race headed by Matt Hammond from Shane Stoney. Though Ricky Page moves up into second place in the Cooper class. He now takes his turn to chase the white and green machine of Matt Hammond, who sprints along the Cooper straight into Surtees. Ricky Page and Shane Stoney both using the slipstream. Right, let's see what Stoney does. Next to Surtees. Doesn't downshift. He's definitely got a problem there, Shane Stoney, and he holds the car in gear as he somewhat nonchalantly, one-handedly makes it around clearways. Shane Stoney making it look, of course, a lot easier than it actually is. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, a change for third as Lawrence Davey squeezes past Chris Smith, and already the JCW class cars beginning to get in amongst some of the Cooper class traffic. Luke Cordle moves up a gear in pursuit of Chris Knox, who catches the traffic at the worst possible moment into Surtees. He'll look to dart through into clearways as Simon Quinn continues his recovery effort. Steve Cocker, he's just moving to the inside of. So looking back from Luke Cordle, Lawrence Davey is in very close attention. Now that Cordle has fought his way through to the front of the pack. Will he be able to maintain his lead? Lawrence Davey, former Legends racer, very, very good at slipstreaming and pack racing here on the Brands Hatch Indy circuit. Oh, and sideways moment there from Chris Knox. Now this is Caudle's opportunity to demote Knox. They sprint into Surtees. That's going to be very, very tight. Caudle just gives him racing room. We look back from Caudle. There's Lawrence Davey. Now where is Chris Knox? He's been hung out to dry into Clearways. Slots into the line in third position. Accelerating onto the Bradman straight. And Lawrence Davey settles into the toe behind Luke Caudle as further back they fan out almost 3 wide is the dispute for third place as Steve Crocker's race comes to an end against the tyre wall at Druids. Not a wizard performance. Back to the lead of the Cooper class, and it's still Matt Hammond from Shane Stoney and Ricky Page. A little bit of a motivational pep slap on the helmet for Ricky Page as he turns into Surtees, as Shane Stoney continues to have these gear selection issues. It's not really hurting his pace whatsoever, except to say maybe he'd just be able to pull a little bit more traction out of Clearways, and that would give him a better opportunity to challenge Matt Hammond along the Bradman Straight and into Paddock Hill Bend. Drive into the braking zone for Paddock now. Shane Stoney brakes it possibly late, down through the gears. Absolutely brilliant manoeuvre that from Shane Stoney. Can he make it stick though, because he'll really needs another gear climbing up towards Druids. But Matt Hammond has to back off because of the recovery of Steve Cocker's car. That means he can't challenge Shane Stoney. Stoney, if anything, builds a very slight buffer at the head of the Cooper class. So it's now the turn of Ricky Page to challenge back the lead of the JCW class and the race overall. Luke Caudle and Lawrence Davey through the traffic have just begun to make a little bit of a bid for freedom, as Davey gives Caudle some assistance out of Graham Hill Bend, maybe give him a little bit more assistance into Surtees. Indeed he does, and they are in amongst the battle here for the lead of the Cooper class, and therefore Ricky Page and Matt Hammond do not want Luke Caudle diving between the pair of them, which is exactly what happens. They're going to head onto the Bradman Straight now, as there is Luke Caudle. Lawrence Davey shoots past Ricky Page, and Ricky once more, maybe spending a little bit less time on the hand gestures might improve your pace, as Luke Caudle now moves ahead of Shane Stoney. A little bit of steam coming from the tail of Caudle's car as Lawrence Davey once more gets back onto terms. And then we've got the black car looming large in third place. That is Chris Smith. 2 wheels through Graham Hill Bend for the leading gaggle of cars, as Neil Newstead slithers out wide as he puts that lap on Matt Hammond in car with Simon Quinn. See darts the inside Gideon Cresswell, and is able to put the lap on Cresswell. Cresswell also sliding past one of the other Cooper class cars. The leading trio have all closed up, and there's Caudle defence from Davey. This is the opportunity for Chris Smith. Here he comes around the outside in the Matt Black machine. He fails to get ahead of Luke Caudle. He may just get ahead of Lawrence Davey, and that is brilliant driving from the pair of them. Very, very clean, and that really is what the Power Max Mini Challenge is all about. Close, clean, but ultra competitive racing. Into Surtees, and Davey, dancing on the limits of adhesion, repasses Chris Smith, as further back Chris Russell elbows Josh Gold on the side as he tries to put a little bit of ground on the cars around him. Quite late into the race now as once more Chris Smith looks to challenge Lawrence Davey, who squeezes Chris Smith towards the grass. Smith's got the inside line for the hairpin and moves through into second position. Chris Knox may follow through past Davey into third. This has been an absolutely scintillating race. All of this squabbling for second has given Luke Caudle the opportunity to possibly make the decisive break at the head of the pack. Meanwhile, in the battle for Cooper class on, Shane Stoney is being rapidly reeled in by Ricky Page, who this time keeps his hands firmly on the steering wheel as Luke Caudle accelerates through to the checkered flag. A super performance from Caudle, and he takes the win with Chris Smith in second and Lawrence Davey just by a tenth of a second, edging out Chris Knox for third. Delight for Luke Caudle as Shane Stoney claims Cooper class honours from Ricky Page. Let's have a look then at the results, with victory for Luke Caudle from Chris Smith and Lawrence Davey, a fine 4th for Chris Knox ahead of Neil Newstead, and the recovering Simon Quinn, an excellent 7th for Patrick Mortimer. In the Cooper class, Shane Stoney, victorious from Ricky Page, and Matt Hammond completes the rostrum ahead of Josh Gollin and Gideon Cresswell. Well, only a quarter of the weekend's work is done, but it is time, nonetheless, to celebrate on the legendary Brands Hatch Grand Prix rostrum. First of all, for the drivers in the Cooper class, who enjoy the spoils of victory, and then for Luke Caudle, victorious in the JCW class, as he receives the handshakes and the trophies.
A face that I didn't expect to be seeing here at Brands Hatch, Chris Smith. What are you doing here? You're racing again.
Yeah, just back for the weekend. We're always going to try and do one race this season, and Brands Hatch seems a good one to do. It's fun here, there's 4 races, and there's a good crowd because we're at the mini festival. Didn't get a bad start, but lost it at Druids. Ended up back down to 3rd or 4th, I think, then managed to get back up to 2nd a couple of laps before the end.
Were the conditions still pretty tricky as well? They looked it.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It was dry. It was dry throughout. The setup wasn't great on the car, but we managed to have to drive around it, and was happy with the podium first time back out. It's such a great feeling to get back out and race the mini. It puts a smile on your face, so there's nothing not to like.
Fairly tricky conditions in the first outing, certainly made for some exciting racing. We'll be back on the grid for more Power Max Mini Challenge action after the break.